Okay, well, it's evening, the day before. What I'm going to do tomorrow, I'm going to do something I haven't done yet, but I figured out a way to do it to where it might just work out. If I can get my editing straightened out. This is Sunday evening. It is almost 6 o'clock, so late afternoon. What I'm going to do is put together some rolls to be baked off tomorrow, but I want it to proof in the refrigerator overnight. And I'm just going to walk you through that. It's just going to take a few minutes, and then we're going to put it in the bread machine. And once it does its first rise in the bread machine, we're going to put it in a plastic bowl and just set it in the refrigerator. So what I've got a cup and a quarter of buttermilk, and then a quarter of a cup of olive oil. You can use vegetable oil, coconut oil, any oil that you see fit to use. An egg, because this is a little bit of an enriched. You okay, Andy? This is a little bit of an enriched dough. It has sugar, milk, oil, egg, so forth. Our yeast, our sugar, and our salt. And that's pretty much it. But I always kind of measure. Generally, I like to weigh it. A lot of people just don't do that. And I don't want to get into a situation chase people away that normally just, use a cup measurement, because both is fine. It's whatever you're used to. So I'm going to put 4 cups in my measuring container here, measuring cup. And this is a 4.5 cup measure. So do about four cups. Set that to the side. Then we're going to do, I'm going to get my teas and my tables mixed up. Okay, so we're going to do a teaspoon and a half of salt. Now this is a pink Himalayan salt, fine grind. God, I can't even talk tonight. And then we're going to put 2 tablespoons of sugar in here. 1 and 2. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. I'm going to put a tablespoon of yeast, because this will actually make 2 loaves. Okay. This is so easy. I hope somebody tries this recipe. Okay, so let's go ahead and crack our egg. Get our egg in the bottom of that. You don't have to do anything special with your eggs. Take it out of the refrigerator, because by the time you add your warm buttermilk and your oil, it's going to be, it's not going to be that cold anyway. It's just that your yeast likes a warm environment. Okay. So let's get in here and make sure our egg is beat up a little bit. Well, I don't mean to beat my egg up. It didn't do anything to me. Yeah, this recipe I want to do is it's actually called, what do you see, Andy? Andy's on his little settee over there. It's meatballs with basil and mozzarella. It's actually baked, but what I'm going to do early in the morning, I'm going to put it in my little mini crock pot with our, do you remember our salsa that we made? Excuse me for stopping and starting here. Our salsa that we made yesterday. Well, I'm going to be using some of that spinach salsa in this recipe for the meatballs. We're going to make our own sauce. It's just absolutely wonderful. It truly is. And it's so easy because the recipe is ready when you are. We're going to put it in the crock pot, set it on low, and just let it cook. And then right before you're ready to eat, all you have to do is just put it in a small casserole pan, sprinkle some mozzarella on top, and bake it for about 10-15 minutes, and dinner is ready, along with their yeast rolls. It's going to be a nice meal. So can you see the consistency of this? It's really dark. Let's see. There we go. It's a little bit better. That's the sun's setting on the other side of the house, so I'm losing my good light. Okay. So this is going to go into the bread machine under dough only, because that's all we're going to do is just dough. It's just going to knead it for us. We're going to take it out after about an hour and 15 minutes. That's all we need. So we're going to put this in the bread machine now, and then let that rise. Then we'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so the dough has risen. It took, let me double check the time. Okay, it took an hour and 10 minutes to get it to this point. Beautiful, beautiful rise. Beautiful dough. So let's take this off. There you go. Isn't that pretty? Look at that. Sorry about this light. This sun is behind my house. So let me let my fingers just help some from the sticking. There we go. Oh yeah, this dough feels great. Oh, what a beautiful dough. Look at that. Okay, now this dough, what you want to do, you want to tuck it in like so. You see that? It just puts tension on the dough while it's rising in the refrigerator. It's easier to work with. Okay, so I'm just going to flip it over. Now, I have sprayed this with a baking spray. You don't have to be, tough with it. I'm going to cover it up, and this is it. We're going to put this in the refrigerator. Now, you don't have to take this out tomorrow. You can do, a couple of days in the refrigerator easily. And actually, you can take part of this and make just a few rolls, or you can make all of it in rolls or a loaf, and then you can put it in the freezer and then bring it out. And as it thaws, it's going to rise. And once that happens, you just bake it off. It is just so simple to have fresh homemade bread. Okay, so what I'm doing now, I'm doing frozen meatballs because I'm unable anymore to roll. Like with this the spinal situation I have, I can't form rolls, so I don't make meatballs or any of that thing. When I make rolls out of yeast bread, I actually pinch them closed. I can't do that with a meatball. So the meatballs are in the freezer. They're 100% organic, and I think they're Angus. So that's a good thing. So what we're going to do, I've got my little mini crock pot. The only thing we're going to add to this is crushed tomatoes, and then my diced veggies that we did yesterday, and then onion powder, garlic powder, a little bit of thyme, maybe a complete, and some basil. This is dried basil that's going to be cooking in that. When we finish these meatballs off in the oven, when we bake them, we're going to use fresh basil and mozzarella cheese. It's going to be wonderful. So I've got this all set out ready to go in the morning. I'm just going to pop it in there, turn it on low, and let it cook all day long. Okay, so it's a little past 8 o'clock. I've got all my stuff out. I've got my meatballs. This is about, 2 cups of meatballs. They're frozen. And my vegetables that we diced the other day, that's going to go in my little mini crock pot. Now, I'm going to set this on low, and it's going to cook, early afternoon. And sometime this morning, when I have a little bit more time, there's a few things I need to do. I'll bring out the dough. Let me show you the dough. Here's the dough. And it's ready to go. We made that last night. So, and I've got my few seasonings that we're going to use. This is such an easy meal, an easy go-to meal. Put it on before you go to work. You start your day. put it on low, come back, and you've got a wonderful meal. So what we're going to do is put our meatballs in. This is such a handy little gadget too, this mini crock pot. I don't want to splash this all over myself. And it's just 1 can of your crushed tomatoes. And then we're going to put, I'm going to say about a cup of our mixed vegetables in here, which is mostly onions and green peppers. So, you know, that goes so well with meatballs. Before I stir that very much, I want to get the seasonings in there. I'll set that aside. Okay, we're going to put garlic powder, onion powder, thyme, some Badia Complete, and some basil, some dried basil. I don't want that big of a one. I'm getting my table or my tablespoons and teas mixed up. So, a teaspoon each. Because don't forget, this is just a small recipe. Oh, and it's so good. Because once this is done, we're ready to eat. About 15 minutes prior, we're going to take this and put it in a casserole dish. And we only have a teaspoon of thyme. And then we're going to sprinkle it with mozzarella on top. And we're going to put it under a broiler in our oven. Oh, for about 10 minutes, maybe not even that long. And dinner's ready. Here's your dried basil. And we are going to put fresh basil in with the mozzarella. Now I'm just going to sprinkle this lightly because we can always adjust the seasonings as we go. And so that's it. So now we can stir it. And so all you need is a 1 can, large can. Now this is 28 ounces, which is 2 of your smaller cans. You don't have to use a crushed. I've used diced before. That works out fine. If you just have whole tomatoes, you can use those as well just by, squishing them with your hands. That works out perfect as well. I'm going to put mushrooms in here. But, you get to the point to where you want to stay simple. Simple and good. You don't need a lot of ingredients to make, a really, really good meal. At some point, it's just overdoing it. Okay, so what we're going to do here, let me clean that up just a tad so it doesn't burn while it's cooking. So hard to clean up once it's burned on like that. Okay, so we're going to put our lid on it. I'm going to set it right here. We're going to put it on low. And then it's going to be ready to go. Okay, so what I'm going to do, it's 2 hours since we put the meatballs in, and they're bubbling away. And I also, when I made that this morning, I forgot to put the our spinach salsa in there. So I put 2 tablespoons of that in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm taking this dough. I'm going to go ahead and get that portioned out. I think what I'm going to do, though, instead of doing all rolls, and it's going to be the Kaiser rolls, the ones that we kind of braid or tie in knots, I'm going to do 1 loaf and 1 of those so that I can freeze part of it. And just roll this out very simply. Now I'm not going to, you see that okay? This tablet on there. So what I'm going to do here is take half of this, maybe a little less than half. Then all I'm going to do is just roll it up like so. Can you see that? Yeah, roll that up. Take this over the side for a moment. This will be our bread, our loaf bread. And the other I'll make into Kaiser rolls. I'm just going to put this together and shape it. Pinch the edges. Pinch the ends together, because if you don't, and when you put it in the pan and it goes to rise, it separates and it gives you an air pocket. So you want to pinch your edges and your seams. It makes me nervous when I watch people make bread and they don't do that. I'm going, oh my God. But you know, to each their own. Everybody has their own way of doing things. Okay, so let's get that bread. The texture is just great on this bread. You see that okay? See, mine keeps wanting to pop open now. Not even in the pan. And usually, if it's going to do it, it usually separates while it's doing its second rise. And you don't want to fold it over, because that makes the edges of your bread larger than the middle, and it bakes up funny. You don't get an even loaf. Okay, that's pretty much it for this. That wasn't hard, was it? It's been all of like 5 minutes making bread. I've already sprayed these pans. And as this rises, it's going to fill this pan. But what I'm going to do, I hear a phone ringing. What I'm going to do is take my egg wash. Must be. Okay, and we're just going to put an egg wash on the stove. And then I'm going to score it. Okay. I'm just going to take my pizza cutter and score it. You want to get in the habit of scoring. Mostly, that's not going to do it. Get my knife. Mostly because when it bakes, when it rises and bakes, it's going to find a place to open up anyway. So if you score it, you give it that place to open up, not where it wants to open, because it can really screw up the look of your bread that way. Okay, so we're going to set this right over here where it's warm. Now, I'm going to start this, but I'm not going to have you on the whole thing because it's just not necessary. I want to try to make this into a circle again, so let's put it back in a round and re-roll it. There we go. I'll show you one or two of these. So we'll shoot for 6, because a full loaf will give us 12, and I took a little less than half. It's still really cold too, but it's easier to handle when it's cold. When it's warm, it wants to stick. It doesn't want to do anything that you want it to do. There we go. I've lost one of my crepe myrtles out back because of this heat. We've had days of over 100-degree heat. I know, I shouldn't be complaining, because there's places in the country that are even worse than that. I guess we can always replace a crepe myrtle, can't we? But I hate to see them die. We haven't had any good water, storms, or rain, which we usually have by this time of year. Okay. Now, this is basically, you've seen me do this before, but I'll show you again. I'm just going to go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to get 7 out of this. Okay, so all I do, I just take this. See, I can't make balls, so I have to do it this way because my hands won't let me. And then I just tie it. They're going to be different sizes because that's just the nature of the beast. When I cut these, the edges are smaller than the middle. Doesn't bother me if it doesn't bother whoever's eating them. So anybody that has any issues with their arms, either through arthritis, disease, just strength, try this method. Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and finish this. I'm going to show you what they look like. I've got them already done, and they're over here proofing on the top of the oven or the stove. Got the oven on. Okay, that's our Kaiser rolls. And here's our little loaf bread. And I top these with everything bagel seasoning. I just love this stuff. There we go. So what I can do, once I bake these off, I'll show you what they look like. But I'm only going to keep like 4 Kaiser rolls out. And I'll probably throw the rest of the rolls and the loaf in the freezer for later because we just won't eat all that bread, but I want it for dinner tonight. Okay, I want to show you our meatballs. They've been, let's see, 8, 9, 10, 11, 3.5 hours. But they smell so good already. Let me pull this over a little bit for you. Isn't that beautiful? Look at these meatballs. Now, I did tell you that I put the spinach salsa in here, 2 tablespoons, probably a little bit closer to 3 tablespoons. I don't want to overdo it, but I wanted you to be able to taste it. So we're just going to cover that back up. I just wanted to give you a bird's eye view. Okay, so I just took the bread out of the oven, and it's beautiful. The temperature that I measured is at 185, which is done in my book. So what I'm going to do is, before I take it out of the pans to go in the cooling rack, I've got some softened butter. I'm just going to lightly, I mean, you can put as much as you want on there, but I don't like to put too much because it has the tendency to soften it. And while I do like the softer crust, I don't want it to be soggy. That's pretty much it. It gives it a nice sheen as well. Let me share this to you. Okay, beautiful. So we can use those for sliders or just as an addition to our meal with our orzo. See what I'm talking about with when you strike those? Okay, let's do this. Let me get those out of there. They should pop right, yeah, they do. You don't want them to stay in the pan too long because they have a tendency to sweat, just like any bread will, or pies, cakes, things like that. So you want to get them out of that hot pan. Smells so good. I wish you could smell these. Oh my. Now that one dough that we made last night, that made us a loaf. Let me get that out of the way. Made us a loaf of bread as well as 8 Kaiser rolls. You can do anything you want with these Kaiser rolls. Let me see if I can. Oh, fine. Okay. Let's get the bread out. Usually I don't have this much trouble with this. It could be the egg wash though. Hello. Okay. Okay, I've got the water on for the orzo. That cooks for about 8 minutes or so. 8-9 minutes. Directions say up to 10 minutes. Just keep an eye on it. Have you seen orzo? This is what orzo looks like. Can you see that? Orzo is a tiny pasta. Looks like rice, but it's pasta. And it kind of handles like pasta. I love it. So we're going to let that boil for about 8 minutes. Alexa, set timer for 8 minutes. And I have my cherry tomatoes. Let me show you. I have my cherry tomatoes, a little bit of garlic and olive oil, sauteing, and I'm going to have that with spinach. So for right now, let me get my basil. Oh, this is smells so good. Put this on our meatballs. I'm just going to tear those. I'm not going to chop them or anything. Okay, I've got the broiler on low right now. We're going to take our mozzarella, put it on our top of our meatballs. I got the fan on. It's blowing my hair in my face. What you doing, Andy? Andy hasn't been feeling well. He had a seizure yesterday and another one today. He's been kind of trying to keep an eye on him. Been kind of rough. He's had those occasionally since we rescued him. Okay. So all we need to do to that, we're going to take our basil. We're just going to tear it. I hear both ways. You have to cut it. You have to fillet it. You have to tear it. I just tear it. And it smells awesome. Okay, so the only thing we're going to do right now is we're going to put this in the oven on a low broiler. Keep an eye on it. Our orzo is cooking away. And I'm going to be adding the spinach just in a minute. Let's turn the light on with that. I don't want this to burn. Actually, I'm going to turn that down. You can see that. Take that off the heat. Okay. I bought a little eye to cook here on the counter so that I'm not walking all the way over there and dragging you over there with me. So I'm hoping that comes in soon. Okay, our rolls are parked here. They're fine for now. What I'm going to do, though, is take that bread. I'm going to put it in a plastic bag. Because I'm going to throw that in the freezer. It doesn't need to be out here anymore. It's nice and cool down to room temperature. That's all I do. And I just put it in the freezer just like that. And I have, like if I do 2 loaves and I want to use one that week, I take and I'll cut it in slices and then put it in individual baggies. That way you just drag them out of the freezer if you need them. But This will probably be used all at one time for a dinner. I don't even know when, but it'll be in the freezer when I need it. I'll put that over here. Okay. Yeah, I just brought this out of the oven. I want you to see it. It's incredibly hot. It's beautiful, isn't it? Smells amazing, especially that basil is perfuming the entire house. Okay, I'm going to finish up my orzo, and I'll be showing you that in just a minute. Okay, so here's our orzo with cherry tomatoes and spinach and a little bit of garlic and olive oil sauteed. It took the orzo 8 minutes to cook. Okay, so everything's ready. Dinner is ready. It didn't take hardly any time. Now, if I wasn't stopping and starting and showing you and you know, filming and all of that, this would have been a two-step process. Make the bread last night, form it this morning, and then we just baked it off. The meatballs, just threw those in the crock pot. They cooked for 6.5 hours. Then we put them in a casserole dish, put some mozzarella and basil, and then threw them under the broiler on low for about 6-7 minutes. The orzo, that's the star. Believe it or not, that's the star. Beautiful. I want you to look at this. That's your beautiful plate. Everything from scratch except for the meatballs, of course, which I can't make. Let's test this orzo first. It's just super good. You know, coming home to something like this and not taking very much time is just, it's just wonderful. Let's take our meatballs, mozzarella and basil. And these didn't take, since I didn't make these myself, just threw them in there frozen. It was no work at all. I got the fan going on me. Taste of basil. And the mozzarella, of course, is over the top. The only thing that I have to say about the meatballs, as you know, the frozen meatballs. Hey, Andy, come here, honey. The frozen meatballs have a little bit more of a texture, or not. I don't even want to say they're denser. They're more rubbery, I want to say. But if you don't make your own meatballs, you don't make them. Of course, they're going to be better because they're going to be with everything that you like in them. But I can't make those anymore. So that's it. I hope you try this recipe. It's just so easy. And I just want you to know that I'm very appreciative of you watching my videos. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you. So if you can find it in your heart to try to subscribe, it costs nothing. And there's no bother to you on, there's no notices or anything like that. And to hit the like button. That does a lot to help this channel grow. And like many of you know, I'm still new at this, and we're building our little channel one person at a time. So until tomorrow, when we have another recipe, and hopefully the heat's not as bad as it is. We're at 102 degrees right now, according to my thermometer. And I know everybody else is in the same boat, pretty much, in this country. You take care of yourself, your friends, your family, and your loved ones. And keep an eye and check on those neighbors next door. You never know what goes on behind closed doors. With that, I'm going to say goodbye and wish you the best of days. Thank you for visiting.